Bob Harvey, the president and CEO of the Greater Houston Partnership, an organization that represents more than 1,100 companies and businesses across 11 counties. Bob, the GHP has taken a strong stance about wearing face masks and suggesting other things like maybe asking employers to increase the number of people who are working from home. Why is the GHP taking that stance?
Well, Cambrell, we're reacting to the same data you just referred to, which is the dramatic increase in COVID cases in the Houston area, and that many of those cases are now showing up in the hospitals, and we feel like it's time to take action. Our board met this past Wednesday, and it provided the perfect opportunity for us to pass a resolution in favor of requiring masks in retail establishments, because we felt that it wasn't enough to simply ask the employees of those retail establishments to wear masks. We needed to require the customers wear masks. And the best way to do that, frankly, was to regulate the business and have the businesses have a health safety policy that in turn required masks. So these are just among the steps we're taking. You also mentioned that we have sent a very clear signal to the employers in Houston to reconsider bringing workers back into the office who don't have to be in the office. Right. Some of them had already done so. And we're asking them to reverse course, and others that were considering doing that, we're asking them to reconsider. So
that's kind of like opposite, not opposite necessarily, but the governor is kind of staying the status quo. You're actually saying roll it back a little bit.
Well, as you know, that had been the governor's stance, but this past week he did a couple of things. One is, first he indicated that we were going to take a pause and not continue forward. And then on Friday, he took the more dramatic step of actually rolling some things back by closing bars and reducing capacity in restaurants. So that's a major step, and I think it's an appropriate step given the data we're seeing on the rate of growth of the virus.
The GHP is obviously very interested in the economy. I mean, that's what your bottom line is. Do we reopen too soon, or is it still an unknown balancing act and just too at this point?
You know, Kimbrell, that's a question I get asked a lot. Our view is that we did not open too soon, but we may have proceeded too fast beyond that initial reopening.
Okay.
And we reopened at the state level on May 1st, and we did not see a material increase or an increase at all throughout the month of May. So we tend to attribute more to the fact that we moved to subsequent phases, perhaps a bit too early, combined with Memorial Day weekend, and frankly, a change, I think, in people's attitudes about the virus that began to appear early in the summer, where people began to take it not as seriously. So, that's what we're reacting to today, and is that the behaviors of Houstonians and people across the state, unfortunately, was as though we had already whipped the virus. And indeed, we have not. The virus is very much present, and we need to treat it as seriously today as we did back in March and April.
I know when they first started, they talked about there was going to be a personal responsibility thing, and people needed to be responsible personally, and that hasn't worked too well, really, at this point. How optimistic are you, or how realistic are you about what our economy is going to be able to do going forward here with what's going on with the pandemic impacting our community?
Well, we were seeing signs that our economy was beginning to recover, and there was some emerging optimism among small business leaders that we talked to and we surveyed. We began to see employment trends improving. Of course, the employment numbers in May were much better than March or April, so we were beginning to see signs of improvement. Obviously now with this new signal, we're basically saying again, you really should stay at home unless you need to be out, and that will have some impact on the economy. But the reason we're doing this is so that it doesn't become more serious, more severe, and such that it would actually force us to shut the economy down again. We don't want to go back to March. We don't want to take those steps that we had to take in March. They were very painful then. They would be even more painful now. So the reason we're asking people to adhere to these rules that we've talked about for months is so that we don't have to turn the economy even further back. Right. Closing the bars was appropriate. At the end of the day, a bar is a very difficult setting in which to maintain social distancing. Let's be honest. So this was a very appropriate move, we think, by the governor on Friday. There may be other moves if we don't see a correction in the data soon, but let's give these moves by the governor on Friday a little bit of a chance to operate.
Got it. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your leadership of the GHP, and especially during these challenging times. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you.
Stay safe.
Great. Thank you.
Congress